Hello, welcome to Perfume, or welcome back if you've subscribed, and thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. That would be awesome. I'm here today with Felix and Trixie as usual. They've just gotten groomed. They're tired out from having their grooming adventure yesterday. These dogs are old. He's an 18-year-old Bichon and she is a 16-year-old Terrier mix from heaven. She's an angel. So today I'm going to cover the Nicolai Parfum Creator Sampler, and one of my favorites from this, which I have been using for a while, Fig Tea, the Eau de Toilette. See that? And this sampler has a selection of Patchouli Intense, Ambre, Cashmere Intense, Musc Intense, New York Intense, Fig Tea, which is the big one I've got, and eauMixte. So I'm going to go through these, and I'll start with the Fig Tea, which is I'm the most familiar with, and I chose this. I was just going to review this straight up, just my Fig Tea, because it's one that I reach for exclusively in high heat. And like the hottest days of the year, this is what I grab, because it's a nice scent, but it also, I feel like the dry down has like a cooling psychological effect on me. That might not be the same for everybody, but for me, when it dries down, it smells like something cool. Like, I don't know why. It just, to me, makes me feel cooler. And it's got an herbal dry down. Let's see. The top notes are obviously fig, which is great. I mean, I love the fig in this perfume. I think it's my favorite fig note that I've found in fragrance. It just smells the most like real fig to me. It's got a nice sweetness. It's nicely complemented by the other top notes, but not, they're not really noticeable. It's fig, osmanthus, and artemisia on top. And to me, it just smells like a nice sweet fig. And then the dry down is very interesting. It's kind of herbaceous, slightly woody. It's got mate, jasmine, and coriander in the heart, and then gaiac wood and amber in the base. And I don't smell the amber at all. Amber I associate with like cool weather perfumes. But this just, I think in here it's not very noticeable scent-wise, but I think it helps to anchor the fragrance. And the longevity on this for a high heat summer perfume is fairly decent. I'd say like 5 hours, probably 4 or 5 hours on this. And the fig in the opening doesn't really leave entirely as it dries down. It's still there, just kind of more subtly, which is nice too. But as it dries down, the coriander comes out a lot for me. So I'm not sure I would recognize mate as a note. I don't smell that note very often, and I'm not sure I pull it out like recognizably as mate in this, but it just has this sort of interesting like with the coriander, this herbaceousness and kind of counterpoint to the sweetness that's really nice, and maybe that's part of why it smells cool to me. I'm not sure, but this is Fig Tea. I give it high marks. It's a niche fragrance by Nicolai Parfumeur, and yeah, I really enjoy it in the summertime. So that is Fig Tea. And then we'll start from the top of the list here in the set. So this set is pretty cute. We'll start with the Patchouli Intense. And as the name would suggest, these intense fragrances are pretty intense. They have a really good longevity. They have lasted, between 7 and 9 hours, and just 1 or 2 sprays of them. So, I would give the performance on these pretty high marks. So this one is Patchouli Intense. And it's a unisex scent. I think it leans slightly masculine. The top notes of this are geranium, lavender, and orange, and the geranium is the most pronounced. The middle notes are patchouli, ceylon, cinnamon, and rose, and then the base is sandalwood, amber, and rose. Now, I don't really smell the rose too much, but I kind of sometimes have a hard time pulling out rose in fragrances generally, unless it's like the most prominent note. I think it just kind of does a unique thing in every fragrance if it's not kind of the star of the show. So the three most prominent notes in this Patchouli Intense are geranium, and then patchouli, and then lavender. So it's definitely one that, you know, people who don't like patchouli probably aren't gonna get into this at all. Yeah, I think it's just slightly more masculine than feminine on the unisex side, and good 7 to 9 hours of spray this. Yeah, it's got a nice opening. That orange and the lavender and with the geranium make it nice. I'm not the biggest fan of a geranium note generally. It's just not I like when I smell it as an essential oil, I'm kind of put off by it, but I think it's mixed well enough in this that it does a nice thing in the opening. It is spicy, that cinnamon, the sandalwood. Yeah, it's a nice fragrance. I'd give it like, you know, I don't know, 6.5 out of 10 probably. But I wouldn't purchase it myself because it's too masculine leaning for me generally. But if you know, like the notes, then you may enjoy it. And if you know, don't mind having a little bit of masculine. And I think as far as a man wearing this, it would smell good on a guy. I would enjoy this on a man. So that is Patchouli Intense. Next, I will go through the Ambre Cashmere Intense. So this one, I've got some issues with this one. It is also unisex and leaning slightly feminine, I think. The issues that I have, well, one is it's got this amber color. I don't know, I've used, actually somebody else used, I think, the bulk of this, like a friend of mine, a guy. And it's got kind of an amber color, and you can see it stained the paper a little bit, so I would be careful if you're buying this and wanting to wear it with white clothes. It might not be a good idea. So there's that. The top notes are citron, black pepper, and mandarin orange, and the middle notes are orris root, violet, and cloves, so it's a little bit spicy. Cloves, and then in the base it's got a complex base with amber, vanilla, benzoin, labdanum, tonka bean, sandalwood, musk, and patchouli. So, you know, as you can imagine, this is gonna, with all those base notes, it's gonna last a long time, and it does. It only takes a spray or two, and it will last, you know, 8 to 10 hours pretty easily. Actually, this isn't the one I have issues with. I was wrong. This one actually isn't that bad. It's nice. It's just a little bit too spicy for me, I guess, in terms of like my own preferences, but if you enjoy a spicier fragrance, you might really like this. And then the amber, you know, it's nice for cool weather, basically. It's because the amber is the most prominent, and then people pull out the citron and then the orris root. So if you can imagine that, it's just a spicy amber, like little bit of other, you know, like it's kind of a hodgepodge of notes with the vanilla, the black pepper, the mandarin orange, the violet, clove, labdanum. All of those are kind of mixed in a way that you don't pull much out, other than the amber and probably the citron. But it's a nice fragrance. I think it's pretty static, like it doesn't change a lot from the opening to the end. You know, it kind of comes out and smells the same all the way down, just gets a little bit less intense over time. So, but not bad. Ambre Cashmere Intense. And then next, I'll look at the Musc Intense. Now this one, Musc Intense, is definitely feminine. The most feminine in the set, I'd say for sure. And yeah, it's a nice smell. Yeah, the most prominent notes are musk, obviously Musc Intense, then rose, and then pear. And the top notes are pear, Turkish rose, and galbanum, which gives it this little bit of powderiness. I really like the pear in the opening. I really like pear generally as a note, and I think it mixes well with the rose and the musk in a pretty way. Excuse me, that galbanum makes it just a little bit powdery, and the other notes are a lot of notes actually. Oh, this is the one I have the issue with, even though I don't really mind the smell. I mean, it's fine, but I'll tell you why. So top notes are pear, Turkish rose, and galbanum. Heart notes are rose, violet, carnation, and jasmine. Rose, violet, carnation, and jasmine. So, you know, fairly floral, which is why it's marketed to women, not unisex. And then in the base, it's got musk, civet, amber, and sandalwood. Now, civet, I have an issue with because I'm vegan, and so when I see the Fragrantica notes and there's a little face there, I imagine a bunch of little faces suffering because people are taking parts of their body, or you know, things from them that are theirs, and putting it in a perfume, and that's not what I want. So I would never purchase this fragrance. And I hope, I don't know, but I'd hope that they find some synthetic way to recreate the civet note, although I don't know. So if you know, let me know. But scent-wise, it's fine. I think it's, you know, generally all right for the year, all year round. Maybe slightly better in the fall, maybe not so great because of the intense nature of the musk. Not as good in the hot weather, say cooler weather. But you know, it's a pleasant fragrance. So that's Musc Intense, Nicolai perfume. And then next I have the New York Intense. Now this one is definitely the one that I was thinking about when I was like, I have an issue with this one. And it is for sure the New York Intense because it has two animal derived notes, or two little faces of different species in the notes that it's just off-putting. But generally this is a unisex, although it is very masculine leaning in my opinion. I would not, and anyone who, I wouldn't even consider this unisex. I'd say a woman who liked like guys' fragrances but wanted something just slightly like not totally masculine, this could work for them, but it's very masculine leaning unisex fragrance. The top notes are bergamot, lavender, citron, and black pepper. Bergamot is the most prominent in the top. The heart is cinnamon, cloves, petitgrain, and thyme. I don't really know what petitgrain would smell like on its own, but so kind of a herby heart there with the cloves, cinnamon, and thyme, and petitgrain. And then another complex base with oak moss, which is the most prominent. So it's kind of like a chypre. Oak moss, civet, castoreum, incense, vanilla, styrax, artemisia, musk, and chamomile. So very complicated base. The two animal derived ingredients are civet and castoreum. Again, making this a definitely no-go for me. But you know, cool weather fragrance, decent intensity, very masculine leaning. Definitely not a safe blind buy. New York Intense. That's New York Intense. And lastly, one of my favorites here, other than the fig tea, this is the other one that I have considered actually purchasing because I really enjoy the notes, but it's a little ambiguous. I think it does have juniper in it. It actually says in the description like mint, juniper, and vetiver. You can see that. But on Fragrantica, they don't have juniper listed as a note, so that was a little confusing to me. Fragrantica's note profile says, this is eauMixte, by the way. I think it's like mixed water. eauMixte? I don't know. It's a unisex fragrance. Its top notes are cassis, which is the most prominent. What people smell the most is the cassis. Actually, I'm going to spray a little. I get the mint, grapefruit, mint, bergamot, and Italian lemon. And I get the mint, a little bit of the grapefruit and lemon, and the cassis, but I never like recognize that note straight off. I'm never like, oh, that's cassis. I have a lot of fragrances with cassis in it. It's just not something that I've smelled on its own, so it's harder for me to pull it out. but I love the mint. I love mint in fragrances generally, and I love the way this works with the citrus and the cassis. The heart notes are jasmine, rose, and spicy notes, it says. And I think there's juniper because they say it on the packaging, but Fragrantica doesn't notice that or say that. And then in the base, it's got vetiver, musk, oak moss, vetiver, musk, and oak moss. And I don't really get the oak moss much. The musk and the vetiver are two of my favorite notes. They're not really that prominent to me. I smell a lot of the top notes, but you know, as it dries down, obviously those get less intense, and then the musk comes out a little bit more. It's just nice. So I do love the juniper. Juniper is one of my favorite notes, and that with the mint and the grapefruit, it's just a really nice. It's a nice mixture. Nice fragrance. So eauMixte, my second favorite, or maybe my first favorite, I'm not sure, of the set. That is the Nicolai Parfum Creator sampler. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't, and appreciate you very much, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye bye.